On the news tonight, federal government pledges better incentives to boost energy investment. Reps probe 1.06 trillion naira NG care program over poor impact. Osun Assembly commends Governor Adeleke for renovation of Osogbo Township Stadium. While on the foreign scene, cholera vaccination campaign begins in Khartoum. Good evening, and we're glad to have you join us on the major reports. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbuola. The federal government has reaffirmed its resolve to sustain policies and incentives that will keep Nigeria attractive to global energy investors. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and Oil, Senator Heineken Lukobiri, gave the assurance during an inspection of the NNPC and Chevron Nigeria Limited joint venture EGT facility in Escravos, Delta State. The minister added that the new measures will target idle oil assets and drive sustainable production growth through incentives that will ensure Nigeria remains an attractive destination for energy investments. He explained that Nigeria could only grow sustainable production with investment as the government is ready to provide the best incentives that will enable sustainable growth in boosting economic growth through collaborative investments. The minister stressed that the government's objective remains to increase production and ensure Nigeria remains attractive for capital expenditure distribution in the global oil and gas market. Meanwhile, the federal government has launched an ambitious national skills program to connect 20 million young Nigerians to jobs, training, and entrepreneurship opportunities by 2030, with women expected to make up at least 60% of participants. Vice President Kashim Shettima announced the plan as he assumed chairmanship of the reactivated board of Generation Unlimited Nigeria during its inaugural meeting, which coincided with the International Youth Day 2025. A statement from the Office of the Vice President by Senior Special Assistant on Media and Communications, Stanley Wukocha, Vice President Shettima said all training will align with the National Skills Qualification Framework to ensure Nigerian youth possess globally competitive credentials. He warned that the national skills ecosystem faced a dilemma of exclusion, disconnection from livelihoods, and inadequate infrastructure for large-scale hands-on training. Minister of Youth Development, Comrade Ayodele Olawande, said the program would focus on job creation, bridging the skill gap, and human capital development. Vice President Shettima thereby urged collaboration among governments, private sector, and development partners for the success of the program. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, has said that the federal government will unlock over $150 billion in dormant land capital nationwide to boost economic growth. Dangiwa made the announcement at the stakeholders workshop on the Nigeria Land Registration, Documentation and Titling Program held in Lagos, themed Moving from Inception to Implementation. He explained that Nigeria's current land administration system left less than 5% of land formally titled, thereby making individuals live on lands without secure proof of ownership. Dangiwa informed that the program aimed to increase formal registration of land titles by at least 50% within 10 years. He added that it would deploy standardized interoperable land information system and geographic information system, strengthening state and land agencies and registries, unlock over $150 billion in debt capital, among others. The minister emphasized that the initiative will be led by the states, supported by the federal government, and coordinated nationally, respecting the constitutional authority of state government over land as enshrined in the Land Use Act. In the meantime, the Minister of Information and National Orientation Alhaji Mohammed Idris, has said President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda has made cancer treatment possible in the country. Alhaji Idris stated this when his team paid a courtesy visit to the governor of Enugu State, Mr. Peter Umba, in Enugu. The minister said that all the information structure of the federal government was brought to Enugu to see and report on the positive efforts of President Tinubu and Governor Umba. According to him, President Tinubu has performed excellently to better the lot of Nigerians in terms of economy, health, and among others. The minister further explained that President Tinubu had made it possible for security agencies to synergize and achieve results, hence the improved security situation that the country is currently witnessing. Alhaji Idris described Enugu State as the heart of the Southeast due to the infrastructure put in place by the governor. The House of Representatives Committee on the Nigeria COVID-19 Action, Recovery and Economic Stimulus has commenced an investigation into the program amid growing public concerns over its alleged inability to provide meaningful assistance to the vulnerable Nigerians it was intended to support. Addressing newsmen in Abuja at the National Assembly complex, the committee's chairman, Abubakar Kusada, said the investigation stemmed from several complaints from the multi-billion naira intervention scheme yielded little benefits to the targeted beneficiaries. NG Cares, jointly financed by the federal government and the World Bank, was designed to mitigate the economic impact of the COVID-19, the removal of fuel subsidies, and the unification of exchange rates. The program, implemented across all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory through various state-level platforms, is in the final year of its first 4-year phase and will come to an end in December this year. The committee, however, said it will investigate possible mismanagement or diversion of NG Cares funds, determine whether the program has delivered value for money, and scrutinize procurement processes for inflation or irregularities. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted thunderstorms and rains from today to 16th of this month across the country. NIMET's weather outlook released in Abuja envisaged thunderstorms today with moderate rains over parts of Borno, Kebbi, Gobe, Bauchi, Yobe, Jigawa, Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Kano, Sokoto, and Taraba states. The agency also forecast cloudy skies over the southern region with prospect of light rains over the parts of Rivers, Cross River, and Akwa Ibom states during the morning period. Moderate rains are expected over parts of Oyo, Osun, Edo, Ondo, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and Bayelsa states later in the day, with high possibility of flood occurring over parts of Cross River State during the forecast period. NIMET advised airline operators to get airport-specific weather reports from the agency for effective planning in their operations, adding that residents should stay informed through weather updates from the agency. The National Pension Commission has advocated that the federal government increase its pension contribution for police officers from 10% to 20%. The Director General, Ms. Omolola Oloworaran, made the call during a visit to the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, at the Force Headquarters, Abuja. The visit followed protests by retired police officers who decried poor welfare and demanded exit from the contributory pension scheme. Among the reforms, PENCOM is proposing a health insurance scheme for retirees, raising monthly pensions to 75% of a officer's final salary before retirement, expanding the retirement settlement fund, and overhauling the police pension structure. She also advocated for the federal government to raise its pension contribution for police officers from 10% to 20%, which would substantially boost retirement savings. On course for the police to access the CPS, Oloworaran said such a move is unnecessary and counterproductive, emphasizing that the issues can be resolved within the scheme, urging patience and continued dialogue as PENCOM and the NPF implement the reforms. Speaking during the visit, the IG Egbetokun commended PENCOM's efforts and reaffirmed that the police force's readiness to work with the PENCOM to resolve police pension concerns. He acknowledged the challenges police officers have raised and expressed his commitment to engaging constructively to maintain confidence. Earlier this month, President Bola Tinubu ordered PENCOM to resolve the long-standing issue surrounding the police pensions, stressing that personnel who serve and protect the nation must retire with dignity and peace of mind. The Independent National Electoral Commission in Osun State has called for stronger collaboration among all stakeholders to combat electoral fraud in future elections in its domains. The resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Mutiu Agboke, made the call while speaking with newsmen after appearing on a program of a media broadcast. Dr. Agboke questioned the roles played by other stakeholders, particularly the media, security agencies, civil society organizations, the political class, and religious leaders during elections, lamenting the increasing violence before and on election days. He urged key players to wake up to their responsibilities in democracy. The REC also called on stakeholders to take the lead in voter education and enlighten the public on the electoral process. Dr. Agboke said the commission will continue to campaign against the cankerworm of trying to buy the minds of the people, stressing that INEC alone cannot reduce or eliminate the menace of electoral vices, charging other stakeholders, including the media, civil society organizations, especially the political class, to support. You are welcome to the sports segment. Osun State House of Assembly has commended Governor Adeleke for mobilizing towards the total overhaul and renovation of the Osogbo Township Stadium. The chairman, House Committee on Youth, Sports and Special Needs, Honorable Abiola Awoyeye, gave the commendation while leading the committee on an inspection tour to the ongoing construction at the stadium. Parliamentary reporter Oluwatosin Oladokun has details.
The Osun State House of Assembly's Committee on Youth, Sports and Special Needs, led by the chairman of the committee, Honorable Abiola Awoyeye, has carried out an oversight function at Osogbo Township Stadium, an assignment approved by the Speaker of the House, Right Honorable Adewale Egbedo. The committee was received by the official from the Ministry of Works, the Ministry of Sports, and Osun State Sport Council, alongside representatives of the construction company handling the ongoing stadium project. During the visit, the committee inspected a wide range of facilities. Among them were basketball and lawn tennis courts, indoor games area, football pitch, hostel, swimming pool, hotel, and administrative offices, among others. The inspection was guided by the stadium's prototypes and demographic design drawings. Speaking with the journalist after the tour, Honorable Abiola Awoyeye explained that the visit was part of the committee's constitutional oversight responsibilities. He commended Governor Ademola Adeleke for his relentless effort in remodeling the stadium to meet the world-class standards. Honorable Awoyeye recalled that Governor Adeleke inherited the state without a proper stadium, thus making him prioritizing the actualization of the world-class stadium.
A core duty for us as legislators. Mr. Governor has a very good plan for this state in terms of infrastructure. Anywhere you look at in Osun State right now, you see the hand of Mr. Governor, especially infrastructurally. The remodeling of the Osogbo City Stadium and further works to be done is an example of the infrastructural drive of Mr. Governor.
Earlier, the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Sports, Mr. Ajetumobi Sanjo had, on behalf of the acting permanent secretary, Mr. Layi Adesanya, led the committee around the stadium facilities. Also present was the chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Honorable Adekunle Oladimeji. The oversized visit is yet another testament to the active and impactful leadership of the 8th Osun State House of Assembly under the speakership of Right Honorable Adewale Egbedon. Recall that Governor Ademola Adeleke flagged off the modeling project on February 11, 2025. Oluwatosin Oladokun, OSBC News.
Super Falcons captain and forward Rasheedat Ajibade has expressed frustration over the delay in the payment of promised allowances and bonuses to the team by the federal government. Details of this and other sports stories are put together by Abdul Jalil at DBC. His report.
Ajibade made this known during an appearance on the media, saying the players had yet to receive the pledge of $100,000 and other entitlements despite repeated assurances from the relevant authorities. Ajibade added that the players had been informed the money had already been allocated, but insisted nothing had reached them, adding that March bonuses and everything is still a work in progress. The 24-year-old urged the authorities to fulfill the promises, stressing that the delay was a toll on the players. Following the Super Falcons' historic 10th Women's African Cup of Nations triumph in Morocco, President Bola Tinubu had in July 2025 announced a cash reward of $100,000 for each player, along with other bonuses as a token of appreciation for their achievements. The Confederation of African Football has sanctioned Zambia, Kenya, and Morocco for various breaches of its regulations during the ongoing African Nations Championship. In a statement by CAF's disciplinary board confirmed it had issued warnings to Kenya and charged fines totaling $60,000 for the three national associations following separate incidents. It fined Zambia a $5,000 after the Football Association of Zambia failed to present their head coach at the pre-match press conference ahead of their opening fixture against the Democratic Republic of the Congo, saying it was a breach of its media regulations, which mandates the head coach to attend such engagement. The football governing body levied its heaviest penalty, a $50,000 on the Football Kenya Federation for safety and security lapses during Kenya's group stage match against Morocco at the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani. CAF cited multiple failures to adhere to security protocols, including inadequate perimeter control and insufficient road closure around the stadium. The football governing body warned that any further breaches by the Kenyan authorities could result in the national team being forced to play home fixture at a neutral venue. The FKF was instructed to increase security personnel and improve logistical planning on match days. Kenya responded by pressing its fans to self-regulate and protect the nation's hosting credentials. Meanwhile, the three federations were given 60 days to pay their fines. Abdul Jalil, DBC, OSBC News.
Moving on to the foreign scene, a 10-day cholera vaccination campaign has begun in Khartoum, targeting residents aged 1 and above in an urgent push to contain Sudan's rapidly spreading outbreak. Mimoluluwa Ogunbode reports.
According to reports, the government has mobilized health teams across 105 medical facilities aimed to protect adults and more than 155,000 children. The report added that the outbreak, fueled by ongoing conflicts, mass displacement, and recent heavy rains, has already caused over 83,000 cases and 2,100 deaths since July last year. The aid groups warned that the disease is surging in other regions, particularly Darfur, where collapsing infrastructure and flooding are creating perfect conditions for cholera to spread. Meanwhile, the United Nations said this year alone has recorded 32,000 suspected cases, as the vaccine offers a glimmer of hope for the citizens in curbing the spread of the disease. At least 37 people have been killed after a sudden cloud burst unleashed torrential rain in Indian-administered Kashmir, the disaster management official said, marking the second major disaster in the Himalayas in just over a week. Buildings damaged in flash floods caused by torrential rains are seen in a remote mountainous village in Chisoti area, Indian-administered Kashmir. The deluge struck Chisoti, a town in Kishwar district. The site serves as a key stop along the pilgrimage route to the Makeo Mata temple, a revered Himalayan shrine dedicated to a goddess. Television footage showed terrified pilgrims crying as water surged through the settlement. Chief Minister of the Federal Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah, described the situation as grim and said confirmed details were slow to emerge from the remote location. It was learned that rescue teams scouring the devastated Himalayan village of Chositi brought at least 100 people to safety, and there was no count of any missing people available. Meanwhile, the Weather Office has warned of further intense rainfall in several parts of Kashmir, including Kishwar, and urged residents to avoid unstable structures, power lines, and old trees due to the risk of fresh landslides and flash floods. Mimololua Ogunbode reporting for OSBC News.
And that ends the major reports on OSBC TV. It was edited by Abdul Jalil Adebise. I am Olubumi Ajibuye Agbola. Thanking you for being there. As always, good night.